carry myself in the show. Like, is it like
I want him to smell me through the airwaves.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What's up,
he
everybody?
smells like hints of bergamot and cedar.
Already started. We didn't even get the intros in, but what up, everybody? Welcome to the Mics at a Round Table, presented, of course, by Cinescape Media, where we're going to tackle all sorts of topics. Yeah,
Topple.
Beer, brought to you by beer. Oh man! But of course, visit us at cinescape.media and check out all the shows we have on there. And this microphone just fell.
You thought media? What did you say?
I heard media. I heard like eight
The microphone
words
fell.
in a row.
This is just an awesome episode already. But of course, today we are missing this guy,
That guy.
Mr. Sean Harrigan.
Fuck that guy.
Wrong. There you go, Bill. But of course, we have Mike Shea from Mixtape Radio
What's up, everybody?
and Mr. Bill Rowdy Tazi.
Woo!
So we're going to go ahead just to kind of jump and riff off of last episode, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
We're going to talk some video game sequels.
Woo!
How many went too far? How many haven't gone enough? And has there been anything that hasn't gotten a sequel that you guys feel we should have one? So let's start best ongoing. Bill, we'll start with you.
Best ongoing game?
Yes.
Best ongoing game. Well, you see, I don't play like Final Fantasy. Like this guy, Wait, which way am I?
There you go.
This
Yeah,
guy.
there you go.
Yeah. Perpendicular. But I'd probably have to say I'm a big fan of MLB The Show. It's only been out on PlayStation, which I think up until this year changed. So I mean, I thought that was always exclusive. I always enjoyed getting the newest copy of that every year. So I'm gonna have to go with that. MLB the game or MLB The Show.
What about you, Mike?
Not Final Fantasy. I'll tell you that right now. For me, one that I have been enjoying over a number of years, and this is a little bit of a cop out, but the WWE games, man. The WWE games are really solid. The character customization and the steps forward they've taken with how you can customize your moveset and your entrances, and create your own shows, and it's a really immersive game series. And so I tend to get do they trade in the old one for the new one every year? That one's been a lot of fun.
I almost said WWE games, but then I thought to myself and was like, I think the last one I probably played was like WrestleMania 2000 for N64.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like I haven't played any of these new ones at all.
Sounds great, man.
Yeah.
What about you, Dex?
Gotcha. I mean, I'm not actually. I liked Final Fantasy VII. I never did stick with it. One of the ones I've always done, like you said, Bill's baseball. I've been a Madden person. I do like the WWE, like you said. They've gotten really immersive with how you can every aspect, like you said, intro music and all that. With the Madden, how you can do the franchise mode, do all the trading and stuff like that. Actually, at maybe 2 jobs ago, actually, when I worked at Comcast, there was a team, a bunch of people. We had done 32 people, each picked a team, and we did a whole season. And then everybody pitched in, and whoever won got like a mini Lombardi trophy. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Dex, have you ever done like the create a franchise or like you create a player in Madden and like follow
I did it like
through?
once or twice, but I don't have the time to like dedicate to that regularly. But yeah, I've done it like once or twice, and that's fun.
You got to see it now because it's crazy. Because like now, like when you complete a season and stuff like that, like it's so much like real life because like your player will get busted for drugs, like right after you finish the season, and then he's got to like rehab himself back, and you got to follow that process through. So like he might not even be on the team roster, when you go to start that next season and stuff, and you got to like have him go out and do community work and get his his rep back up to status and stuff like that. So it's crazy what these games do now. You know what I mean?
Speaking on that, my buddies and I, every year we get the WWE games, and so we each made our own fighters, and we were all supposed to get together one day, the three of us, and play. And our one buddy Aaron completely flaked out at the last second, so me and Vince decided we brought his character in a 2v1 no disqualification match, and just took turns mercilessly beating the shit out of Aaron's character. To the point where the game actually wouldn't let us use his character anymore. He had been medically removed from competing in the game because his character had been injured so badly.
See, I wonder if with like these sports games, we have no sports on TV, if we could get like a whole series and then stream it on YouTube. Like, here's our league of teams, because aren't the baseball players doing that right now with MLB Show?
I don't know.
I think so, because like the NASCAR guys have been doing that e-racing thing. Like now they're back racing in empty racetracks, but they were doing that e-racing thing for a while. Till one dude got busted for dropping the N-word, but that was a thing. They were basically sitting in these big like Tron-esque VR stations with screens everywhere, and it was like they were driving the actual car.
Yeah, people build like full setups for those.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the people that build those?
That's insane.
Like they spend lots of money.
I also want to take that and go back and play like the old TIE Fighter games from PC from the 90s, man. Buy an X-Wing in that motherfucker.
Oh man. Good old DOS.
Hey, you joke. I've been playing I've been going back and replaying, since we're on video game talk, Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast on the PC, which is still goes down in history as one of the best, but also like hardest and easiest to hack video games ever made.
I love when you can hack the games on the PC. You can just replace stuff.
So easy.
Gotta get a Game Shark or a Game Genie.
I remember those.
I saw like online somebody like in one of like the throwback groups or whatever. Somebody posted remember the original Game Genie for Nintendo? It was like gold, like that gold plated and stuff, and it came with that special like magazine instruction booklet that
the
had
book
all the
was
codes.
like this thick.
I never knew you could write your own code as well and hack the games that way too.
Really?
Yeah. So like I know it came preloaded, but there was a couple self-proclaimed people that were like, yeah, like I wrote like my own codes and stuff. Like, so it sounded like with, I guess it was like with the NES one, that it had some kind of basic level like code already written, and like I guess you could do certain things to tailor it to a specific game, like for basic stuff like extra lives and credits and things like that. Not like not extreme stuff, but I thought that was interesting. I never knew that. It was more of a Super Nintendo 64. So I had the Game I still have the Game Shark for 64. I use that shit all the time. I firmly, believe play whatever the hell you want, enjoy what you want. If you want the Game Shark, a lot of people say it's cheating. I don't really care, because some games are just not enjoyable, honestly, without it. So, whatever.
Give an example.
It was back like in the late 90s, early 2000s, man. Games were hard.
Yeah.
Games were really. I remember, and this is kind of a weird one. So I was in high school, like I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh player, and there was a Yu-Gi-Oh game for the PS1, and there was a way that you were supposed to be able to type in the little like serial number on the card and get that card in the game. But in order to get it, you had to like spend X number of like star points that you earned in the game. But it was like you only gained a max of like 5 star points per duel that you won. And like the weakest fucking monster you could possibly find cost like 1,000 star points. And so it kind of became a thing where people were just using the Game Sharks left and right to just give themselves the cards they needed to play, because otherwise you couldn't play the game otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those things, like the older games, they were made a lot tougher. And then you got the people now who take the old games, put them into PC, and then customize levels to make them almost impossible.
Oh, I know.
Have you ever bought one of those, like, I see them on eBay all the time. So I guess like the old PSP design is like a universal, I guess, patent, because I see shit from China all the time on eBay. They look like, straight up PSPs that are like brand new, and they're just loaded up with all the old games, like a handheld emulator and stuff like that. Have any of you ever bought one of those, used one of those? I'm skeptical, but at the same time, they, when you're spending, less than $100 on a handheld that's going to have thousands of games, in probably like a, the lowest form of high def or something like that, obviously maybe some upscaled, definition. What are your thoughts on something like that?
I haven't bought one of those myself. I have seen those, and I think they're really cool ideas. I have a couple of those. They've released them in the last couple of years, like the classic consoles, like the PS Classic, that comes like preloaded with like the 100 games on it.
You can hack that.
I that's what I've heard, and I've been tempted to.
I have a friend that's actually been hacking and selling them on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard, and like the cool thing that you can do too is like the one is it USB port? The one USB, like, you can plug in and actually put like a flash drive in there and run stuff through it. So it's like, it's pretty easy if you want to hack it.
I've hacked, I think, almost every game system I bought. I have a Wii that's hacked with a 500 gig hard drive, and like every Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega. I hacked a PSP, actually. I was waiting for you to go for there. I do have a PSP hacked with a bunch of Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, and then PlayStation 1 as well. I actually put Final Fantasy VII, the original one, on the PlayStation Portable.
That's cool.
But there is a guy that actually reviews a few of those handheld devices on eBay. Linus Tech Tips. He does a lot of videos, but he did review a couple of those.
I've seen where some guys have been taking the Raspberry Pis and putting them in the cases and turning them into just emulators and installing the ROMs on there.
So it's actually called RetroPie is one of them. I have it in my my bedroom upstairs. It's a RetroPie, and I actually have it pointed to my server where I have every ROM saved, and it just loads it over the Wi-Fi, and I can just play any system. I'll send you a video. I have it somewhere.
Have you seen, it's called the Retron?
No.
Check it out. I have the Retron, what do I got? 3, I think? 3 or 5. It is a modern console. So the one I had, I opted for the metallic red finish. But it's got, mine has cartridge ports for Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega. And then it's got 2 controller ports for each of those consoles as well. It also came with 2 wireless controllers, but they're kind of garbage because you have to be almost like right in front of the console itself. But it's solid. I probably spent like $65-$70 on it, and I've just bought games from like yard sales and flea markets over the years, and obviously you could still get controllers dirt cheap, like wired ones, which is what I use, and it's pretty solid. It comes with AV plugs. Just plug it right into any TV and just go.
So let's check this out. I see what you're talking about here, right? So bring it up here on the screen. It doesn't let me see the zoom in, but this thing right here, is that what you're talking about? Retron 3 gaming console?
So you just turn the knob to select which platform you want to use. It's got a power button and a reset button, similar to the old ones. And then, as you can see there up front, there's two controller ports, and then on the left side and the right side of it is, two ports for the other consoles. So you have Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega. Cool thing is you can use the original controllers to plug right in, but like I said, it comes with those wireless ones, but they're not as effective as hardwired. Is my product review there, and it's solid. I mean, the cool thing is unlike the factory stuff where you have to use the proprietary like AV cables and all that. Those are just like your regular RCA cables. So
Nice.
You lose a pair. Obviously not too hard to find. But
Very nice. I like that.
And it's definitely cool. And I think that as we talk about retro gaming too, there's another device I should turn you guys on to, because I don't know if you've had this problem, but obviously the thing with older games is that they operate on a different refresh rate. So when you are playing these older games on your 720 HD or anything above 720 really, that different scaling, you get a really bad resolution picture of the games that you're playing. I mean, obviously the only way to really fix that is to go find an old tube TV that that's no longer being used. But chances are you probably threw any one of those out many years ago. But if you go on Amazon or eBay or anything like that, they have it's an HD upscaler for video games. It's just literally like a little black box that has AV plug input on one side, and then it outputs into HDMI. But what it does is it converts the resolution. It converts the resolution at the same time, but also corrects the scan rate issue. So that way you get the highest res picture as possible on your HD TV without any without minimal degradation basically of the picture. So that way you don't compromise picture quality and stuff there, video quality, and that way you can enjoy the game as as it was meant to be. So I would check those out. They're not badly priced. I think they're like around like $15 to $30 depending on brand.
See, that's not a bad price at all for something like that.
Because I've got the PlayStation Classic and the Sega Classic here, and when I got the Sega Classic, I booted up Vector Man, but I've got a huge 1080p TV.
Yeah.
Just woof. but on the other hand, I was also kind of like, this game was made in the 90s. I don't know what I expected. But
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the 55 in the living room, or the 55 in the bedroom with that RetroPie. Like you said, you load up like Mega Man, and it's like what used to be a pixel this big is now this big on the screen. Like, oh, man.
There's speaking of, we talk about hacking and what I've loved is there are some people who have gone as far as to create their own using sprite files and stuff like that as Bill gets his takeout delivered, where they created their own versions of full game versions of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Where somebody had created one, it was the Pokemon Suite version, where they went through and like redid all the avatars of the Pokemon. So like Bulbasaur has like a slightly different name, but looks like he's made out of candy instead of Vine Whip. He uses Licorice Whip. And then there's also one that I'm playing right now called Pokemon Metal version, and it's based in a lot of like one of the gym leaders is Rob Halford from Judas Priest. And they took like a classic sprite and redesigned it a bit and renamed it. But yeah, these are whole extensive Pokemon games that people just downloaded, the texture packs and stuff like that, and created this whole game that you can now download for free online and play on your computer.
Yeah, I need a link to that because that sounds like fun.
Send it to you right now.
All right. So kind of just get back on the topic a little bit. Games that should not have any more sequels. Is there any games we feel that just went way too far?
Real quick, my delivery person just commented and was like, why is Sean like laughing so hard? So I don't know if it muted me or not. I hit mute. I don't know if my camera picked up the audio too, but I was explaining to her. I'm like, well, Sean's been drinking since like 2 p.m, and he's really hammered, and he
forgot.
He did a no call, no show on us, and so we decided to put his picture up in memoriam. So we tried to find the worst picture that we had for him. So it's like, oh my god.
It's the best thing ever.
Games should never have another sequel. I'm going to go with Final Fantasy. Just be done.
Yeah.
Just be done. You already admitted that the 7th of 18 or however many games you've made is the best, so much that you went back and completely remade it. So just be
spent 5 years doing it.
I don't even know what those games do. Like what? I don't even know.
It's just story. I mean, all you're doing is just playing the story.
What's the freaking fantasy about?
It's just the whole thing is a fantasy, but like you said, 7 was the culmination of everybody loved it. I loved it. But after that, it was just the story has gone just downhill, and it's just you're replaying too much stuff.
But it's not even just one story. It's every game is its own story. But much like how the fact we have 30 versions of Pokemon, it's like, okay, y'all are running out of ideas.
Yeah.
And to the point where, like I said, you went back and spent years and millions probably of dollars redoing one 10 versions ago. Just be done. Just be done.
So does Pokemon also fall on that list because you just brought it up?
Absolutely it does. Be done. Seriously, I can't. My little brother and sister still play him. I haven't played him in years, but they're like, yeah, this one's a key, and when he evolves, he becomes 2 keys, and then when he evolves again, he's 3 keys on a ring. Be done. It's over. This one's an ice cream cone. Enough is enough.
Now we're on Sunday. Yeah, I don't know how many they've made.
I couldn't even tell you.
I was trying to look it up. XIV, whatever that one is.
You know what was a good sequel that actually got remade recently was Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
I mean that was a good game. I won't say it was the best Resident Evil game, but it was nice to play something nostalgic. That was redone, and I think that's gonna be honestly like when we look at video games like overall, and we talk about like some sequel games and games that have gone on too long. Like I think we're at the point where there's obviously a lot of good nostalgic games that due to technology can be easily cleaned up and optimized, and I think there's a lot of games that are deserving of it, and we're starting to actually see that. I mean, some of the Resident Evil games getting redone. Now you got Tony Hawk 1 and 2. That's
I'm looking forward to that.
That spawned a little too many sequels, but it's also a game like I think we discussed like Madden and MLB where they're sports and stuff like that, but they're games that obviously the sport itself doesn't change, but the gameplay and the user experience changes.
They've got replayability.
Yeah, big time. And Tony Hawk 2 had major replayability, but what suffers is technology moves on, and you know, you're left with a, resolution that you just don't want to play with.
Well, and they tried to keep it going. They made the 2 Underground games where they continued to expand what you could do with the kind of skateboarding game, and we saw stuff like NFL Blitz, and we saw stuff like the ill-fated college football games, which then became illegal. To answer your question earlier, Dex, if there are 31 Pokemon games, and that's because much like Final Fantasy, as new versions of the Game Boy or new handhelds, new consoles got released, they'd go back and re-release old games updated to fit the mechanics introduced in the newer gen. So there was Gold and Silver, and then later on there was Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which was just the DS version of Gold and Silver. They did the same thing with Red and Blue. They did the same thing with Black and White and Ruby and Sapphire and Sun and Moon. But total, there's been 31 Pokemon games since '96 when it started.
Jeez.
Yeah, so let me ask you.
As he takes a bite.
You guys, that's just for you. That's a little romaine for you there, Dex. Oh, romaine. Any of you guys play Call of Duty?
Yeah, once in a while.
I would have to say Modern Warfare 2 was like one of the top sequels for me. It went on to make a few more, obviously, but I feel like Modern Warfare 2 was like the Call of Duty game for like a good 3 years straight. Because I don't think it. I think it went on hiatus before like Black Ops then came out and stuff like that. But I feel like Modern Warfare 2 was like the game for like a good 3 years, I feel like, straight. And with that being said, like with the shooting games, there's a sequel game that not too many people know about. I mean, if you're into like shooter games, maybe, but for PlayStation 3, it was the Tom Clancy Rainbow Six games. There was the Vegas 1 and Vegas 2. So Vegas 2 was like my jam. So Vegas 2 was like Call of Duty Modern Warfare almost, but like for PS3 like early on, and that was, I think it might have been also released on PS2, like at the tail end, like during the transition from 2 to 3. Because I feel like that's a game I played on both consoles. But it was a game that very few sequels eclipsed the original game, but it definitely eclipsed its predecessor, and it was just a fucking cool game to play. Like there wasn't like too many like restrictions, but then at the same time like the controls weren't too cumbersome, and it had like the right amount of computer assist for certain things. So it just made like cruising through the game like super easy and enjoyable at the same time. Like, not to say it wasn't challenging, but
it was
like
well balanced.
It
was well balanced.
It was, yeah, and it was well balanced even as you increased difficulty. Where some games like it completely just like becomes unplayable. Like it was one of those games that like obviously you master like the the amateur level or whatever, and then it's like as you move up through your intermediate and your hard and stuff like that, it was a game that like still retained its allure as you progressed in that manner. So those are some games from me.
Were you playing the we used to play DOD in high school. Were you playing with us when we did that?
I was not a DOD guy.
You did not play DOD?
DOD. I don't remember. What
I remember what I played in high school
Day of Defeat.
No. I was all over that Nito racing though.
Nice.
Remember that? You remember that shit?
Oh yeah.
I played Medal of Honor growing up, which was like a watered down version of Call of Duty. It was more storyline based, like you were just playing through World War II.
Yeah, Medal of
Yeah.
Honor was like one of those first entries into like the first person shooters and stuff like that. So they definitely
It's one game.
they definitely are a Medal of Honor themselves amongst those games.
The last Call of Duty I've played altogether though was Call of Duty 3, which was the World War II one for the PS2, where you played as like Irish and American and Russian and Polish soldiers in World War II. But that was back when the game was still primarily focused on being a solo campaign. Like their multiplayer thing existed, but it was focused because multiplayer, the gaming that part hadn't skyrocketed and taken off. But the Call of Duty games for me just became really repetitive.
I think too. It's like when the Call of Duty games when they don't offer you anything different, there's only so many ways that you can like twist war,
Yeah.
And that's why for me, my I would probably I'm gonna go out on a limb here just because it's the first game that comes to my mind, without analyzing any other games. But I would probably say my favorite sequel game is, and this goes without having played the original game, but I just know it's that much better, is Just Cause 2.
Don't even know what that is.
Not a
Oh
clue.
my god, dude. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like the thing that gets me with like Call of Duty games and stuff like that is like they're great, but like a lot of times like I lose interest because I just want to go around and just shoot shit and like do more like open world stuff at that point. Kind of like, kind of like GTA, but I don't want to complete missions. I just want to blow shit up and stuff. So Just Cause 2 allows you to, have um, that open world experience, and like you can literally, so like your main weapon is a hand grappling thing that like kind of like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. You shoot this like tether thing, but the cool thing is you can like tether stuff together. So like you can tether like bad guys to cars and like send them like being pulled from behind a car. You can tether people to like CO2 canisters and shoot the canister and take them up into the air and stuff. I would watch some gameplay videos of it. You'd probably be pretty impressed. I also have the newest one, I think, 4, which is pretty good. 3, 2 is really good. 3 went downhill a little bit because like they forced you into doing missions to unlock stuff, and then that's where they went wrong. And then 4, they just basically made it like 2 again. So I love when games are like, oh, we fucked up that last game. Let's just make it like the one that was successful the first time. Like, mission accomplished. That's a game I would definitely suggest you guys to check out. It's honestly just like if you took like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty and just like married them together. So
Definitely have to check that one. So, Mike said something interesting, and I'm now curious to ask this question: Did multiplayer has multiplayer killed any game?
Oh man, Halo.
Good point.
I mean, Halo and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 were kind of the ones that really made the big focus shift from soloing a game to almost all the focus was on the multiplayer aspect. And as a result, Halo, which had a really compelling story in the first game or two, I remember Halo 3 being that first one where it's like, okay, cool, I can beat this story in a day, and it's really unsatisfying in the end. And 4 was not any better. And a lot of games from that point forward became, same with the Call of Duties. I mean, every month when PlayStation puts up a freebie, there's a pretty good chance one of them is going to be a Call of Duty game. because they have almost no replayability, and I download them, I play through the story, I beat it in a day, I never touch it again. But Halo, I think, was really the big one that really just it just, they, in the middle of this really interesting, compelling original story, they just threw it away because whatever, college kids like to get drunk and play games of 16 on 16.
And that's a shame because it's like you said, there's a couple games like that where they get killed because they focus on that multiplayer aspect, and a bunch of drunk kids just want to shoot people.
Yeah, but see, that's what made the new Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order, so like think about this. This is a game that has no multiplayer. It is strictly a single player game, and everybody was like, "Oh, a game with no online multiplayer? What?" And it's like, yeah, back in the day, those were just video games. That's just how they were. It's a game that is video game franchises next time. Oh, sorry, something popped up on the screen. But yeah, like that's what games used to be. It was something you could play by yourself. You didn't have to be online with a bunch of random guys from England or India or whatever.
Because it's all cash grab now, you know what I mean? They want you to stay online longer. Like, that's why, one,
DLCs.
just about any game you buy now is not complete because you have to buy DLC stuff, and it's like, oh, you only get a quarter of the map with buying the game. You need to now spend $50 for PlayStation monthly. You need to download the DLC packs and stuff like that if you even want to enjoy the game to your liking. And you got to go through continuous updates that ultimately just fills up your hard drive and shit. And then you're like invested, like Sean Harrigan here, for like $350 for a single game because he's got to download all the stuff. And so, with certain games, and it takes you out of that experience because you got to keep up with it, and you got to play online, or like the big thing with what was it, Star Wars Battlefront, right? When the first one came out, when they didn't have
there was no solo campaign.
There was no solo campaign, yeah, and that's a game that it's like, this is all I want to do. All I want to do is just beat Darth Vader and fucking go around and do missions and wipe the floor with rebels. And it's like, no, you're gonna have to play online, and you're gonna have to be a stormtrooper, and you're gonna have to kill people together.
Part of what also made the first Battlefront such a disappointment was you're talking about a game that is essentially a remake of a franchise that already existed, because the original Battlefront games for PS2 were magnificent, and so people had high expectations, like, how is this going to compare to those original games? Because one of the best things about those games was playing through the story of Star Wars from the perspective of the troopers, and this had none of that.
Right.
And so people were already already expectations were already probably a little too high anyway. Yeah. But you take away the main thing people loved about the original, and what's the point? What's the point then? Why would I bother?
Real quick, what was the one Star Wars game for PS2 that was it was pretty bad? Was it the Republic one? There was one I remember that was really bad because it had some characters that were not even from the movies. They were I guess from the stories and stuff like that.
So there was one for the PlayStation 1. And I can't remember on top of my head what the name of the game was, but you were playing through the story of episode 1, but you could play as Obi-Wan or Qui-Gon, but you could also play as Mace Windu or a bunch of other random Jedi. So there was that one. It was okay. There was another one for the first Xbox only when it came out, called Republic Commando, where you were playing through kind of nothing to do with the movies, but you were playing as a couple of specialist clone troopers, basically, running your own missions, kind of parallel to the Clone Wars. Force Unleashed games were really good, but those were for the 360 and the PS3. But those were fucking awesome.
You know what Star Wars game I always liked? it's not even one that you could play on the console. Was I always loved the one at the arcade, like in the height of early 2000s, like when the movies came back, and it was the one you would sit in the ball, you would sit in like the arcade turret, and you would actually have to move around and stuff like that, and it was pretty much an exact replica of episodes 4, 5, and 6.
I do remember that.
And you would go through those key scenes, from each movie and stuff like that.
The speeder bike scene and
speeder bike. You would go through the Hoth tunnels and stuff like that, and then you'd have to try and get build up enough time for the Millennium Falcon to get away, and then you're on Endor and stuff like that. Oh man, that game was so boss. I put so much
later of that game.
I put so much money into that.
I always liked going to play when they had the because the N64 had the Pod Racer game.
Yeah,
but there was an arcade version where you were sitting in there with your hands on the controls and pulling the levers to turn
right. Yeah. See, like shit like that. That's that's the type of stuff that people want to do. Like when it comes to VR and stuff like that now. Like people want some kind of immersion, and they want it, with things that they know and like, and that would be awesome because anybody with a VR right now, like myself included, then I'm gonna be like, oh shit, they got that, and I played that in Dave and Buster's 20 years ago. I want to do that again. I want to relive that. People are gonna spend that money. Eat it up. Fucking do it already.
I'll throw one at you guys here, and that's games that got sequels that shouldn't have, but were better because they did.
Well, that's a good twist to this last one we just talked about. And what do you have? Because I don't have one.
I have Mass Effect.
Ooh.
So in college, my roommate had Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3. So he had me start with 2. I said, I've heard a lot about these games. He's like, start with 2. So I started with 2, and 2 was really good. 2 was probably is the best of the whole series. And then I played 3, and I really liked 3. I know people were kind of divisive on the ending of 3, but I really liked 3. So then after I finished 2 and 3, I went back and replayed 1. And I was like, holy shit, if I had started with 1, I never would have played 2 and 3. Because the first one was really slow. It was really clunky. The whole choose your own adventure side of things, not a lot of options. It was pretty much choose this obvious good decision or this obvious bad decision. It wasn't like a spectrum of story decisions you could have. It wasn't really compelling. It just wasn't. It looked like shit. It just wasn't a very compelling game. But 2 was such a huge step up. It's like, thank God I played 2 first. Because I don't think I would have continued on. I would have hated 1 too much to continue on to 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of people who have supposed, if you look at the ratings for the first one, the ratings for the first game when it came out were mixed at best. But then 2 and 3 were much more well received by fans.
I didn't get to play any of those, and I'm trying to think if there's any other ones where I might have jumped and started 1 later. I can't think of anyone. What about you, Bill?
So repeat the question for me again, just so I make sure.
So games that had the games where there were multiples in a franchise, but maybe the first one was not good, that it probably didn't deserve a sequel, but it got better after the sequel started coming out. Like the sequels made better than the original that shouldn't have probably gotten a sequel to begin with.
I'll say this. I'll say Grand Theft Auto 3, because 1 and 2, those 2 were, completely unique in their own way. Mm-hmm. And, those were both PS1 games. And, they looked like little micro machines and stuff like that. And
we stood on the top.
I mean, it was totally cool. Grand Theft Auto 2 was definitely better than 1 in, just things that it improved upon. But then, then we went with that lapse right after GTA 2, and it took years for another sequel to come out. And then 3 came out, and that totally revolutionized. I mean, you had more of the open world, more it was actually like 3D mapping and stuff like that. You had um, more of that user role play experience and stuff like that. You're actually able to maneuver your guy and see him up close and things like that, and the details and stuff like that. So, and then you look at just how that game has progressed since then, and it's huge.
Yeah, because look what Vice City did.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and now you've got 5, which to this day is still probably the best Grand Theft Auto game I've ever played. I mean, with what you can do, I mean, it's still, they just keep re-releasing it for the new gens. Like,
Right.
no plans to make a 6th one right now. Why would you bother? It's still full price.
And with a game like that is so huge, like in that open world sense, like I mean, like if you can just keep adding and just improving upon it, like without having to reinvent the wheel, like great, just do that then, because then it's a game that you can just always pick up and just enjoy it. And my wife still goes back and plays the third one on the console. So there's replayability in some of these games. I feel like I got another one too.
I will say this, just to put it in perspective. Grand Theft Auto 5 originally came out in 2013.
Yeah.
7 years, and that thing is still like full price on Steam. It's currently the 2nd best selling video game of all time, and is the most financially successful entertainment product of all time, with $6 billion worldwide in revenue.
Aliens.
That's crazy.
And when it was released, it earned $800 million its first day and $1 billion in its first 3 days. That thing sold better than most movies do.
Yeah, I was going to say. Curious if that's one of the fastest grossing anything ever.
Yeah. Everyone's like, this game caused controversies for its depiction of violence and women. No shit, it's Grand Theft Auto.
I think that's given in the name. You figure out what it was, Bill?
I think I have 2. So because I don't think they. Well, so the one I played, Red Dead Redemption 2, I feel like that got better than the original. I didn't play it in depth, but I thought it was like it was obviously just like the original, but it just improved upon things. But also the Batman games. So I don't know if you guys have played like any of the Batman games over the years. I feel like
no.
Yeah, I feel like they're really good. So like the what was the sequel? The Arkham. So Arkham City. I think it was Batman. I think it was Arkham City.
Was the first sequel.
Right.
And then Arkham Origins was the prequel, and then they did Arkham Knight. But that was after the because it was made by was it Rockstar and I forget the other company that were working together, but they split, and the one went and did Arkham Origins, and then Rockstar did Arkham Knight.
Yeah, and I think Arkham City actually had a pretty good soundtrack too, if I recall. I think they actually had like some hard rock bands that did an album for it.
We talked about video game soundtracks on one of my other shows a couple weeks ago, and we talked about like there's a Coheed and Cambria song on that Arkham City soundtrack that is like one of the greatest pieces of music written in the last.
Yeah, I am not fully aware of the full soundtrack. I believe that the Damn Things are on there too, which I
pulled up right now actually.
Mike, have you ever heard of the Damn Things?
I love the Damned Things.
Not too many people know about them. It's
so
like your
modern
day supergroup.
The Damn Things are awesome. You got Panic at the Disco, Coheed and Cambria, the Duke Spirit, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, Black Audio, which was a side project of Davey from AFI, Sunrose Wenger, Crosses, which is a side project of the guy from Deftones, the Damn Things, Daughtry, the Boxer Rebellion, and Serge Tankian did a song. It's a killer soundtrack, and for a video game, like holy shit. I mean, like Coheed still plays that song like in their concerts. Like it's a song written from the perspective of the Joker to Batman, basically saying like, we can't live without each other. You need me as much as I need you. And it's like, this is deep for a video game, man.
Yeah. But that's what makes it pretty boss right there. So I mean, the fact that we're talking about a sequel game from what 2012, 2011.
It was 2011.
Yeah, around there.
And you have it's a badass sequel of a game. It's it's super fun to play, and then you got a soundtrack that packs quite a punch as well with with bands that we just said like Coheed and Damn Things, AFI. I mean like Deftones, like that's a fucking solid playlist right there. So I mean, you don't get too much better than that, and that's flying under the radar too. When you got a game and a soundtrack that's just as heavy, and not too many people know about it. That's hilarious. But then that's also attributed to our genius minds over here get to discuss and enjoy. And Mike, wasn't Coheed slated for a tour this year for like an anniversary tour for their one album?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's one of my favorite albums of theirs. So
it wasn't.
it was the Good Apollo.
Yeah. Let me double check here.
Your eyes
I can't remember.
It was for Year of the Black Rainbow, which, if I'm being honest, or no, I'm sorry, it was Burning Star Volume 1, the one that had Welcome Home on it. Yeah, it was the 15th anniversary for that one. But yeah, it was postponed.
Along with why? Do you know why?
I believe it was something called COVID-19.
Is that an STD?
Yeah, you get it. You get it when you have sex listening to Coheed and Cambria. And then because Disturbed had the same thing. Disturbed, they were doing their anniversary tour for The Sickness, and they had to keep that too. With Stained. Stained was on that tour.
I don't like Stained.
That's it.
I love Stained.
So video games.
Dude, we always go into just like tangents. So just to bring it back.
Every fucking time.
So what's the ultimate video game? Before we get out of here, what's the ultimate video game for you guys?
Ooh.
Man.
See, I feel like that's a hard question when you have so many platforms.
Are you talking about like asking us to create one? Like what's our dream game, or what's one right now that we just consider?
That could be a whole episode on its own.
I mean,
honestly,
wouldn't you all agree that the best video game is the one that we're in right now?
Life.
I mean,
this video game called Life
right now.
We're all in in a Sims environment right now, and we're all avatars. And all I know is my avatar is starting to take its pants off over here.
That's why the Earth is flat.
While eating Chinese food.
I'll tell you what, we made the comment earlier about how games in the 90s were just harder than games today. And right now, 2020, this video game feels like it was made in the 90s because this is the equivalent of life. How difficult life is right now, kids, is the equivalent of how difficult video games in the 90s were.
Yeah. Do you wanna give best game based on platform?
Okay, so the best game that say Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox, or Microsoft, whatever you want to call
it. Mike, you can go first.
Okay, for Xbox, I think the best game they ever conceived was Halo 2. Halo 1 was good. Halo 2 was très magnifique, and then Halo 3 started the whole. Halo 3 was fine, but it started the whole online multiplayer thing. Nintendo, I think the best game Nintendo's ever put out was probably Pokemon Red and Blue. Because the insane, look at the craze that it created. but B, just the replayability. How many times did we go back and start over and play again and start over and play again and start over and play
Started it
again?
last week on that retro pile upstairs in a bedroom.
Exactly. And then as far as Sony goes, I don't think Sony's had it yet.
Twisted Metal.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you want to get technical, I guess you could say Final Fantasy VII. But that's kind of a cheat.
Nerd.
Oh, it's but also, I mean, find me a game that is more universally beloved than Final Fantasy VII as far as Sony goes. But Sony doesn't do a lot of exclusives either. No. There's not a lot of Sony exclusive games. I mean, you could say Spider-Man for the PS4 was pretty fucking epic, but
yeah, it was a solid game.
Yeah, I'm dying for the sequel to that. But again, that's also a game that had the Batman Arkham games not as been as good as they were. That Spider-Man game never would have happened.
Batman, you say? Coming for you.
I'll try that. I just got the PlayStation 4.
What?
Spider-Man. As I just got a PS4, so I'll have to try that Spider game.
Dude, that Spider-Man game. It's one of those, like, the problem I had with Spider-Man was the same problem I had with Jedi Fallen Order, which is I'm only going to play like an hour a day. I don't want to play too much and burn out on it, finish it too quick. And then I got to a really meaty piece of story and I couldn't stop. And the next thing I knew, I beat the fucking game. And now I'm like, shit, what do I do now?
That's what I'm doing with Final Fantasy VII. I play like an hour every night or every other night.
Yeah, but you're going to be at that. Yeah, but you do that, you'll be at it for fucking years.
That's true. Actually, I'm already 31%, I think it said. So,
nerd.
What you got, Bill?
So for let's start here with so Nintendo. If I'm going regular Nintendo, I'm gonna have to go Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Super Nintendo. I am going to have to go with what was I just thinking of? Shit. Very possibly think I just blanked on Super Nintendo. Well,
just in general, Nintendo.
You know what? Actually, Super Nintendo. Let's go like Street Fighter 2.
Good one.
Sega. I'm gonna actually say Mortal Kombat 2. I feel like certain games, like, I don't know, for some reason were achieved like notoriety on certain platforms. I feel like Mortal Kombat 2 was like one of those games that for some reason was just a little bit better on Sega. But it was comparable on Super Nintendo. N64. This is a tough one because 64 really launched Mario Kart into, unparalleled heights. But we also saw like a lot of other great games like GoldenEye. So it's really like a tie there between like GoldenEye and Mario Kart. That might be a debate, on its own there. I feel like if you had what was it, Dreamcast, Sega Dreamcast. Yes. I feel like people only bought that in the 90s for Crazy Taxi.
Oh, absolutely. And Jet Set Radio.
Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball.
I forgot about that.
Just saying, that was a thing.
I never had an Xbox, so I wouldn't know about that. But PlayStation, yeah, I kind of have to, agree with Mike. I feel like PlayStation hasn't put out like a game that was like, that's fucking PlayStation, man. I mean, I feel like they have some like good heavy hitters, like, obviously Call of Duty could be up there. Maybe, I guess like Final Fantasy or something like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe like Uncharted or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know what, like, PlayStation hasn't really done it, but there is 2 games that I would put on my list for like PlayStation it's got to be the Just Cause games, most specifically Just Cause 2. Like I can just jump in and play that anytime and be grossly satisfied. I would also say, oh Jesus, what was I gonna say? Just Cause or I don't know. Can leave it at that. But you know what's a good N64 game? Like I love the fucking Cruisin' USA like racing game.
Absolutely.
Remember you'd like go to the arcade and play that Cruisin' USA and Cruisin' the World. Oh God, I love like I feel like that was the good thing about N64 was like it tried to like bring. I feel like it brought as much of like the arcade feel to the house. If that makes sense.
I got
Like,
you.
I feel like so many games I played on N64, and then I would go to like Dave and Buster's and pump quarters into the same exact games that I just like rented at Blockbuster. um, like the Star Wars games, other, like the Cruisin' USA, the Hydro Thunder. Oh my God, I love
Hydro Thunder.
Hydro
Wow.
Thunder. Or remember the off-road game, it was Cruisin' USA, but it was like with like Baja trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, it was definitely a good one.
Like just like some of those games. Like House of the Dead.
Fucking House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Oh, that movie.
Awesome.
So that's what I got.
Right on.
Had some good games. Like I said, I mean, for me, I'd say PlayStation. Like I said, Final Fantasy's kind of up there. I did like the Twisted Metal games, but not much exclusives. But those were my two that I always thought of for PlayStation. Xbox, definitely Halo 2. Played countless hours for that one. And then Nintendo, I just like how Nintendo has reinvented Super Mario so many different ways that it kind of makes it just like up there. There's plenty of other good games, but the way they've made Super Mario just 90,000 different ways, I think it's just pretty good.
It's true. I mean, it had its own version of Tetris, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Just makes it very universal.
Plus, Nintendo with the 64, look what they did with, Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Like there's very
Just
few
add
games
characters
quite
of
as
every game.
synonymous with like competitive video gaming as
I didn't really know about the reality of what you just mentioned, Mike, was that level of competitive gaming, and with the Super Smash Brothers, I never got into that, but it's a when did that game come out?
The Smash Brothers, that would have been like 2001.
Okay, because
I
I
was
was going to
after
say
my parents got married.
our where we filmed some events prior for Cinescape were at this video game studio, and they
99, sorry, 99, not 2001.
okay. So there's this video game place. They like hold like open tournaments. You can go in and play and stuff like that. And pretty much their whole operation is hinged upon a game that is no longer, in circulation or in any regard to like contemporary. And they hold tournaments for for a game that's 21 years old at this point. So it's crazy that there is still an audience for such a game, and that it's still widely available.
And plus, you figure like I'm looking at the timeline right now, like from the first one from first Super Smash Brothers to Smash Brothers Melee, which was the GameCube version, there was a 2-year gap.
Right.
From Melee to Brawl, which was the next version of it, there was a 7-year gap. Because Brawl didn't come out till 08, and then in 14 is when we had the version for the 3DS and the Wii U. And then you remember when the Switch first came out, everybody thought that Smash Brothers was done at that point. And everybody remembers, I mean, the internet exploded when they dropped the announcement that Smash Brothers was coming to the Switch. I mean, people lost their fucking minds, because it has just become, like I mentioned before, just one of the most competitive, esport games in existence now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think video games have come a long way, man, and it's crazy to see where it's gotten to. But with that being said, and since Dex has left us, I think we should go ahead and just sign off because,
Yeah.
screw him and his kids. So,
Yeah. Kids.
But no, this was good. This was a good talk, and this is now the second show in a row that I get to sign off that I haven't been hosting. So,
because either our hosts, either have to go pee because they have terrible urinary tracts, or people just don't show up because they get day hammered 2:00 in the afternoon. Yeah, you gotta love how he was still trying to manage the whole process throughout the day, and then it's like, I'm in hour 3 of drinking.
Just blowing up the slack all day, and then damn it, he got back. Damn it, we took too long. Shit. But
what?
But yeah,
right.
we were about to sign off the show before you got back.
We should try calling Sean real quick from Skype and see if he answers.
We should.
He ain't gonna answer. But yeah, all hell's breaking loose here, so. All right, fellas. As always, it's been fun.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else? We're gonna sign out.
Yeah.
No.
We'll catch everybody later.
Let's do a proper sign off though.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Mike.
You guys can find me, find Mixtape Radio. We'll be back finally next Monday. Check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Mixtape Radio Pod, and find me on all social media at Mike Shea Comedy.
Nice. Go ahead, Bill.
For me, Rowdy Kazi, you can find me sitting in front of my desk eating Chinese food from the wonderful folks over at Yummy Asian. Delicious. That's the name of the place. It's called Yummy Asian. So, they got everything you need. So check me out. I'm floating around on Cinescape Media. Mike, when you gonna have me on MTR, man?
I know. I keep saying I'm gonna do it, and then never fucking do it. We'll get you out there, buddy.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Suburban Paranormal. Check me out. There's gonna be a new episode, not this week, but next week. We actually got Sean Harrigan coming on in that one. We'll get Bill and we'll get Mike on the shows as well. So, everybody, have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later.
Later.
Bye.